All right, welcome back to some more health accumulation opportunity. Today we're talking about a diet-centered home versus a health accumulation-centered home. In my practice, I get to see multiple generations of families, and I get to see their eating patterns and how that is passed down from one generation to the next. And along with that, I see the relationship people are having with food. The grandma, the mother, the daughter, the father, the son. These have been passed down. Unfortunately, the reason so many are in my office is because of this poor food relationship that has been passed down via a diet-centered home. They have digestive issues, body composition issues, skin issues, anxieties, depression, and so much of it was brought on and fueled by them watching the generation before them talk about and relate to food and utilize food in an undesirable fashion. So if you haven't already subscribed, man, hit that like button, share the channel with your friends, your family. I would be so grateful, and I think they will gain a lot from it. The deal is, a diet-centered home is sure to set up your kiddos for food relationship weirdness. I suggest running from a diet-centered home, a diet-centered culture as fast as possible, and do not permit it in your home. You may say, I'm right now in the midst of a diet. I'm currently dieting. Well, I would just turn off that diet faucet, and I would strongly consider jumping into health accumulation. And you can say, well, what is really the difference? You're always talking about eating healthy and eating this and not eating that. The difference is why you're doing what you're doing. Why are you choosing the wholesome food? Why are you opting out of the cake or the chips? The mindset, the speech we have around food is everything. And I think in our food abundance culture, it is paramount that we create eating and food guardrails. But please do not talk about how you're eating a certain way to lose weight or fit into a particular piece of clothing or a bathing suit. Because your children will mirror this action and potentially, like you, spend their whole life going through the diet roller coaster. All right, for starters, let's talk less about food. What we talk about, we think about, what we think about, we talk about. Guess what your kids are going to do if you're talking about food and your concerns around food, your concerns around every meal, how you can't have this and how you wish you could have that, how you have to just eat this at this meal. And, at this other meal, you can only eat this. And you can only have 15 grams of fat here for dinner and no more than 40 grams of carbohydrates for a snack or at lunchtime or whatever it is. Recognize, like I've mentioned many times, it's okay to be the weird one, to pass on the food coloring, pass on the corn syrup. No thank you to the late night dessert. No thank you to the bread at the restaurant. It really isn't that your decisions may look any different on the outside, but how you talk about them, how you discuss your body image or the body image of others, or how you speak about discontentment with your body composition and how food is cause and what others can eat and what you can't eat. This is what creates lifestyle weirdness related to food and really can mess up your psychology for sure, but also the psychology of our children. Those 3 months later, before and after pictures that people put up? I would aim to get out of that mindset of external validation and gather up the confidence that comes from the satisfaction of being the authority related to your food relationship. As opposed to food pulling you by the ear around every day, you are the authority. You are the leader. And let that validate you, as opposed to an image you put up 3 months down the road after you did a diet, right? Because that 3 months later, that picture could look very different, right? That is not going to provoke lasting change. So say you're in a disease state, with a relationship with food, or you're diabetic, you're, obese, and you're like, man, I need to make drastic changes about my food because I'm in a disease state. If your mentality and your speech is centered around eating for enjoyment and body nourishment, then explaining to your children that, hey, honey, I put some poor food information into my life for 20 years. And unfortunately, I'm reaping the fruit of that 20 years. So I've started eating this strict way now, and maybe I'll have to do it for the next year or the rest of my life, because I want to overcome this disease process. And I want to enjoy a life of vitality, of vigor. I want to see how awesome this vessel God created for me can function. So I'm just letting you know, you're going to see a significant change, in my food routine. I might be doing some fasting. I might be, passing on bread. But I also want you kids to know this. This isn't easy for me. I've been putting these foods that led me to this place into my body for a long time. And these foods that brought disease to my body, I like them. They taste good to me. So in the process of retraining my taste buds with all this whole, real, luscious food, I may lose focus. I may stumble. I may need your encouragement, because this might take me years to get this dialed in, but I'm in it for the long haul. And the reason I'm pulling, a lot of these foods out of the cupboard, these drinks out of the fridge that we normally have here, that we've been consumed for a long time as a family, and I'm replacing them with, fruits and vegetables and meats and water and sparkling water, is because I want you kids to be able to enjoy your health, your life, and not end up in the situation I ended up in. So kids, feel free to remind me why I decided to take on this challenge in the first place. Would you say that sounds like a person, going on a diet to lose 20 pounds so they can fit in a bikini, or lose 20 pounds before they get married or before their high school reunion? I don't think so. No, that sounds like somebody who wants to transform their health existence, who wants to transform their food relationship, and has a mindset of health accumulation rather than dieting, which is, I'm going to do this for a season so I can get to this certain place, and then I'm going to go back and do everything I did that got me to that original place I didn't like in the first place. All right, so guardrails, like I mentioned before, are vital because we do have a state of abundance related to processed foods that are being shoved in our face all day long. But please recognize, dieting is a road to health disaster. All right, I'm Dr. Matt. I hope this is helpful. I would love to hear your thoughts, because I know there's lots of thoughts around abstaining from different foods and keeping junk food out of the house, and how it may make us eat all this other food later on in life that we don't want to eat and such. So much psychology around food. Love to hear your thoughts. Talk to you guys later.